Feud this morning at 8 on Fox 14.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Right now at 7, a local wedding chapel has a long history of hosting weddings on Valentine's Day. Plus, a shooting in Kansas City leaves one dead and many others injured. And have your full forecast coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. It is 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning and we jump right in. Yesterday was Valentine's Day and there was a chapel in the far northeast corner of Oklahoma that was once called the wedding capital of the world. According to its owners, yesterday one wedding was celebrated at Laverne's Wedding Chapel, but owner Patricia Jones says that on Valentine's Day of 1992, almost 100 weddings happened there. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
I've always wanted to do Valentine's Day.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't think so. It's a romantic day.
Shannon and now Melissa Mosley chose the most romantic day of the year to say, I do. Melissa not only chose the date, but also the location that holds a special place in her heart. Laverne's Wedding Chapel is where her parents and also her sister got married.
So we can call it a family tradition?
I guess so. I wanted just something kind of small and not big and fancy and a bunch of people.
As witness, the couple had a friend. Patricia Jones, the chapel's owner, also was there. While only one couple got married at the chapel on this year's Valentine's Day, Jones says that back in 1992, on the same date, things were different.
It was lined from here all the way to the 3rd floor of the courthouse, and that's when you had to get a blood test, too, which took like 45 minutes.
Now she's only at the chapel by appointment, but that doesn't mean that a last-minute wedding can't happen.
If they call the courthouse that day, I can be here in 20 minutes.
While Jones feels like weddings are not as popular as before,
It's just a thing of the past, it really is.
some things have not changed at the chapel.
This art up here, it's also part of the history of the chapel. It was once placed inside where the weddings happened, but now it's out here with the sign.
You don't want to change it because, when they do come back 50, 60 years, later, say, oh, it looks just like it was when we got married.
A thing the Mosleys might be able to incorporate to their February 14th celebrations.
The good thing, though, is that you're going to save money on gifts because it's the Valentine's Day. It's also the anniversary gift,
Right.
So you don't need to buy.
Yeah, so she kind of messed herself up on that.
In Miami, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
More than 100,000 people from all over the country have been married at the chapel. Melissa and Shannon Mosley have been together for less than 10 months. It's a love story that started online and crossed state lines. Now let's check it out with Chris for a look at your weather.
Yeah, we've got ourselves a day where we're going to be a little cooler than where we have been the last several days, but we're still going to be above average ahead of some big changes in our forecast. Let's take a quick look outside. This is our camera on top of the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin, looking pretty good this morning as we get this Thursday underway. Still a bit breezy out there, though, and you can even see the MoDOT camera 20th and range line kind of rocking back and forth a little bit in those gusty winds as they begin to shift out of the north. Temperatures around the region, we've got mid to upper 30s over in Kansas, but as you can see, temperatures falling now even on the Missouri side as those winds shift out of the north. Miami, Grove, and Jay, as well as maybe say Anderson, Cassville, some of the last somewhat warmer spots out there. Now, again, the good news is it's not going to be freezing today. We're still talking right around the mid-50s, some of us low 50s, others upper 50s, and partly cloudy skies, and these gusty winds will wrap up by about mid-morning. However, they will return as we head into our Friday, and we've got some big changes on the way. We'll talk about those changes, what that's going to bring, and how long it'll last with the full forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, what was supposed to be a celebration of the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory turned into tragedy. Kansas City police said one person has died and 22 people were shot during the victory rally at Union Station. 3 people have been taken into custody. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has the latest.
Kansas City police say the shots were fired right as the parade was wrapping up, hitting several people. Video from Fox Sports of the parade caught the moment people reacted to the sound of gunshots. Kansas City's mayor at the parade when it happened, expressing his disappointment that such an exciting day for the city turned to chaos.
We went out today, like everyone in Kansas City, looking to have a celebration. That celebration was marred by a shooting today.
Mayor Quentin Lucas says police and paramedics were on the scene immediately. Victims could be seen getting loaded into ambulances.
Officers ran towards danger. Officers were there to keep everyone safe.
There were more than 800 law enforcement officers at the parade already. FBI agents rushing towards the scene as well. President Biden was briefed on the shooting, and the White House has offered federal assistance with the investigation. Fans at the parade described the chaos when fans had to flee Kansas City's Union Station.
All of a sudden, the crowd started just rushing us and like trampling everybody, and so we kind of moved about, and then we heard gunshots.
The mayor of Kansas City said no members of the Kansas City Chiefs were injured in the shooting and were all accounted for. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
The Chiefs organization confirmed all of its players and staff are safe. They also released a statement yesterday saying in part, quote, "We are truly saddened by the senseless act of violence that occurred outside of Union Station at the conclusion of today's parade and rally. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and all of Kansas City," end quote. And authorities responding to a domestic situation in McDonald County, Missouri, find 2 people dead. The initial 911 call Tuesday indicated one person in a home was holding another at gunpoint. After authorities tried unsuccessfully to contact the people inside, they entered and found 2 people dead, apparently from gunshot wounds. Authorities have not yet released their names. The Independent Living Center in Joplin put on a Valentine's Day celebration for their patients. Those who attended were able to socialize and were provided food. Patients were also encouraged to participate in square dancing. Staff members of Independent Living say that this is the perfect atmosphere for patients to engage with one another and enjoy the holiday.
Well, putting a smile on their face, it just really warms the heart, and it helps us to strive to do better so that we can help them live independently in their homes. And, you know, it's hard for them to get out sometimes, and we really want them to get out and do things just like everybody else can.
And Independent Living will celebrate its 30th anniversary of service in the Joplin area this year. Up next, Captain Davis from the Joplin Police Department will be with us to talk about the latest police annual report for 2023. And later, a man in Michigan finds a little surprise in a toolbox he bought years earlier. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Greg Kelly with Phoenix.
Weather app today.
The Joplin Police released its annual report for 2023 last week. Captain William Davis is here to share what the report findings mean for us. And welcome, Captain.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, overall, how are things looking?
So 2023 was a good year. Crime in the city of Joplin is down 5%. So we saw when we looked at the numbers, we tried to do like a 4-year trend. And looking at the numbers for 2023, we saw a 5% overall decrease in crime. That was really carried by a big decrease in property crime, so thefts from vehicles, burglaries, larcenies, those kind of things. We did see a slight increase in violent crime. That was primarily in the categories of assaults, domestic assaults, assaults on law enforcement, those kind of things. So, but it wasn't enough of an increase to put crime in an upward trend. So, the good thing is that you know, the last couple of years we've seen a decrease in crime numbers, which is always a positive.
That's great.
You know, it'd be great if we had 0, but we know that's kind of unrealistic. But we'll take any decline in crime that we can get year after year.
I love that. Okay, that's nice to know. I think that's very comforting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I understand car crashes have also gone down significantly.
Yeah. So in addition to crime, we also look at you know, traffic patterns, and crashes have been on a decrease over the last couple of years. So you know, drivers in Joplin are doing a great job. You know, we're seeing that continued decrease. It was a 5% decrease in the number of crashes. What we found with crashes is that our probable contributing factors, failure to yield, following too close, and inattentive driving were 3 major probable contributing factors for crashes. So, as we go through 2024, we just hope people keep those things in mind that, failure to yield, the following too close, increasing your following distance and stopping distances, and then inattentive driving, being off the cell phone.
Get off your phone, right?
Yeah, and
Pay
all
attention.
those other things. So, crashes were good.
Yeah, that's right. And you also told me a little thing about insurance with these crashes.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, when we looked at doing the analytics for crashes, we found 13% of crashes in Joplin, people didn't have insurance. And so that's kind of a concerning number that we saw, especially if you're involved in a crash, for the other party that's involved. So that's going to be one of the enforcement areas for 2024 going forward, that during traffic enforcement, making sure people have insurance on their vehicles. So we'll kind of see what those numbers do in 2024.
Absolutely. Any other goals for 2024?
No, it's just again, we're hoping for a continued decrease in crime. Our calls for service had a big increase. 18% increase in calls for service. In our car stop numbers, they increased 46% from the previous year. That's a lot of, we've funding for traffic enforcement has been good over the last year. So we'll kind of see if we can keep that trend up in 2024.
All right. Well, thank you as always for joining us, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with more news right after this.
Feels good. President's Day sale going on now, only at Ashley.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 7:15, coming up on 7:16 on this Thursday morning here in the 4 states. And again, a reminder for you folks at home, if you're starting to wonder, well, what's he doing here? Well, I've got our youngest is a little under the weather. I won't go into the gory details, but he's not feeling too well, so I'm going to hang out with him today. But I'm also hanging out with you, and that's the marvel of technology. Let's take a quick look outside. This is our camera on top of the Cornell complex in downtown Joplin. Got a beautiful start to the day. It's a bit breezy. It's a bit cool, but we're still above average out there. MoDOT camera 20th and range line also looking pretty good this morning as folks get their Thursday commute underway across the area. As we mentioned, though, we have some changes on the way, so let's talk about what that's going to look like. Now, today, again, we're going to be a little cooler than where we have been the last few days, but we're still going to be above average with some partly cloudy skies. Tonight, into early tomorrow morning, though, that's where we're going to see the rain start to roll in. As you can see, by 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, we got widespread rain showers out there. And then, yeah, that's snow on the future track out there around Yates Center and Burlington. And this is going to be about mid-morning. Now, here's some good news, though. Take a look. Even though we could see this transition to a wintry mix, maybe some light snow, all the snow accumulation models are suggesting we're talking at best a dusting, maybe an inch in some locations. And as we head into the afternoon, future track picking up on where snow could be, but I believe it's going to start to dry out enough that some of that snow won't even be reaching the ground, but it could lead to some slick spots out there as we get ready for the afternoon and evening commutes on our Friday. So do keep that in mind. And of course, temperatures are going to be falling gradually through the day on Friday as well. Thankfully, they are not going to plummet across the area. Right now in Joplin, it is 42. The wind's starting to pick up a bit there, so making it feel like 34 with a north-northwest breeze at 16. And otherwise, clear skies out there. Temperatures around the region. Again, Kansas, it's been that northerly breeze has been consistent through most of the morning, so it's a little cooler. We're talking mid, maybe some upper 30s in southeast Kansas. We still have some upper 40s heading into northeastern Oklahoma, but as you can see, temperatures have dropped back a bit as the winds continue to shift out of the north across the area. You can still see some gusty winds through about mid-morning, pushing about 25 miles an hour. Then they'll calm down later this morning through the afternoon, actually. We're looking to be 44 and partly cloudy by late morning. We're going to go mid-50s today, partly cloudy. Some of us upper 50s, others low 50s. Clouds increasing through the evening, falling back to the low 40s. And then again, we'll have early highs Friday in the upper 40s. They'll gradually fall through the day. Back down, it's going to be cold tomorrow and Saturday night, but that's actually normal, mid-20s out there. Chilly on Saturday as well, and then temperatures return to spring-like levels again next week. Partly cloudy skies, upper 50s Monday and Sunday, and upper 60s Tuesday and Wednesday. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Hold on. Next Level Chef, all new tonight on Fox.
A love letter standing the test of time found in a Grand Rapids man's toolbox. Fox's Jamie Sherrod has the story behind the note written more than a half-century ago.
It's almost like a true love story. People just don't write things like that nowadays. It's almost like poetry.
Back in 2017, Rick Trojanowski bought this toolbox at a farm auction. But what he found inside a couple of years later was like a scene out of a movie. A love letter written 70 years ago addressed to Mary Lee Cribbs here in Grand Rapids from Corporal Irving Fleming.
1953.
Wow.
So it's pretty old. San Francisco, California. And this is where Irwin was actually stationed at, evidently.
The letter, a tale of two hearts separated by distance, as Corporal Fleming served in the Army.
I haven't wrote you a letter in such a long time. And the letter goes on and on.
In it, Corporal Fleming revealed he hadn't heard from Mary in 5 months after the two had a disagreement. He apologized profusely and expressed his unyielding love to Mary, writing in part, "Mary, I need you so very much, and I know that I'll always love you."
Yeah, I kind of read through it, kind of a love letter and things and that. And it was just kind of really interesting.
Corporal Fleming also wrote how slow his time in the Army was going without hearing from Mary, and shared when he returned home in 7 months, it would be the happiest day in his life. He wrapped up the letter asking Mary something he's asked before, and apparently she's previously agreed to marry him once he returned home, telling Mary he loves her with everything he's got.
I did try to do a little research through Facebook to try to locate some of the people in that involved with it.
Rick has tried to find the person this belongs to or their relatives, but hasn't had any luck. He's hoping this story will help get this long-lost love letter into the right hands.
Yeah, I really don't have any use for it, and if we can find the people it belongs to or the kids, I think it'd be really neat for them.
Well, coming up, representatives from animal shelters across the state of Kansas met in Topeka on Tuesday to discuss changes to House Bill 2542. And Chris will have your Thursday forecast when we come back.
Hands on social media on the next Tamron Hall.
Tamron Hall, this morning at 10, right here on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The time now is 7:26 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. Drivers in McDonald County, Missouri may want to seek a detour for today. From 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., MoDOT crews will install a new overhead sign across I-49 near McDonald County Route H in Pineville. That'll reduce traffic to 1 lane near mile marker 6. Southbound drivers should expect slow traffic and delays where crews are working. People in Kansas City are still in shock after yesterday's shooting at the Chiefs Super Bowl rally at Union Station. An acquaintance of KOAM reporter Fernanda Silva was inside Union Station when the shooting began. Giovanna Klepper spoke with Fernanda and shared her experience.
Giovanna Klepper was in Las Vegas last week watching the Chiefs and celebrating the Super Bowl. Today was supposed to be another day of celebrations for her husband who works for the Chiefs, and all the fans. She told me she lived moments of a horror movie. Can you tell me what you saw today?
We thought the shooter was inside the Union Station, so we run away. I fell down, like my husband had to grab me. And then we went straight to the kitchen. There was like probably 40, 50 people in there. And everyone was trying to understand what's going on. The exit was locked. Everyone was screaming to open the doors, and no one was open. So my husband had to kick the door, and he kicked out the door, and then we finally came downstairs. There was like kids with us that like they were missing like the parents. So we kept the kids with us.
Klepper also said she thought she was going to die, a celebration that unfortunately became a tragedy.
And we did have our own staff up there during the rally. They are both safe and okay, as is everyone at the KOAM team. Thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved. And a historic home in Carthage, Missouri became the site of a Valentine's Day soiree. People could stop by the Phelps House, enjoy some live music, drink some wine, and even get a professional photo shoot. All the money raised from the event will go towards renovating the landmark building.
The community is starting to realize and recognize it a little bit more since we've been hosting some more frequent activities here, and so I think they're realizing this is here and it's a venue. I'm surprised by how many local people don't even realize that it is a venue that they can rent for a very low rate, and we also give public tours by appointments.
Officials say they hope to make this event an annual fundraiser. And kids in Joplin brushed up on their acting skills. The Dream Theater troupe yesterday hosted a youth acting academy for students. Experienced instructors helped the students adapt children's literature into theatrical performances. Younger students also got individual tutoring to help foster their growth.
Students can choose whether or not they would like to come on a Tuesday and Thursday class or on a Wednesday and Friday class. What we're doing is adapting children's literature into full-length performances. And so today in this class, what they're doing is they're taking The Boy Who Cried Wolf and they're breaking it down and then they're rebuilding it again to their taste. So it'll be a little bit different than the original story would have been because it's all their input.
The troupe will host another youth acting academy in the spring. Now let's go to Chris for another quick look at the weather. Chris?
Decent day out there, so we're going to be a little cooler today than where we have been the last couple of days, but still above normal. MoDOT camera 20th and range line in Joplin looking pretty good so far as we get our day underway. It's a bit breezy out there this morning as well. Wind shifting out of the north, and that's kept temperatures in southeast Kansas a little cooler all morning long, mid to upper 30s, but as you can see, we're starting to fall back through more of the low 40s across more of the area. But again, don't worry, today at least will still be relatively mild as we are looking at highs going into the mid-50s today. Partly cloudy skies. We'll still see those occasional gusts to 25 through about mid-morning, and then they will ease up a bit. However, winds are going to be picking up again tomorrow. It's going to be much colder, and we've got some big changes in the horizon for our forecast. We'll talk about all that, how long it'll last, and whether or not spring will return in that full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Kansas Humane Societies are advocating to update the wording in the Kansas Pet Animal Act. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
House Bill 2542 is proposing a change in the wording of the Kansas Pet Animal Act, which was enacted 35 years ago. The act regulates the care of licensed pet animal agencies for companion animals. The last change to the Kansas Pet Animal Act was in 2017.
We have been working with stakeholders from every part of the industry for many months to try to make sure that we've got a good bill that just updates the act and continues to make sure that we have really good pet animal health and safety here in Kansas.
Currently, the act requires facilities to have adequate care for companion animals. Kansas animal advocates are trying to add the word continuous to the act.
That's a big word change, right? So a good example of how that word change would affect shelters, rescues, and breeders for wintertime, right? So if you put out a pail of water and it freezes in 30 minutes, that dog does not have access to water.
Jasmine Cowell, along with other animal advocates, testified at the first hearing for House Bill 2542.
And it breaks our hearts, you know, especially when you go to a site and that dog, you know, is so dehydrated because it didn't have water because it was in an outside kennel and the water froze. And that person is stating, well, I gave them water a few hours ago.
The bill still has a ways to go before the change is enacted. It hasn't yet passed the House and will still need to get Senate approval.
So we're still very early on in the process, and the hearing yesterday was just a good discussion with all of the stakeholders and legislators about what the agency and what the stakeholders have been discussing now for a few months.
Animal activists say this bill will help protect some furry friends like these. Reporting, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Kansas Department of Agriculture says updating wording to acts keeps them to date with industry standards. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A new exhibit is opening this weekend. We'll hear from the Joplin Historical Society on what you will see.
Hi, I'm Dow Quick, and I'm inviting you on a holiday vacation.
Eastern on Fox.
The Joplin Museum will be hosting a reception for the opening of their new exhibit this weekend. Kelly Ridden, president of the Joplin Historical Society, and Nanda Nunelli, president of the Black History of the Ozarks, are with us to share more on what you will find. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, so this all sounds very exciting. Tell me, what are you guys putting on now?
Go ahead. Well, we, as the Black History of the Ozarks and the Historical Society, are exhibiting a glimpse of Black history in the community of Joplin. And so we're just starting this. This is not a complete and finished exhibit. It's an exhibit that's in the works. And what we'd love to see is we'd love to see members of the community that have things that they would like to share with us to be able to come and add to this exhibit as well.
That's incredible. And what would be, like, do you have any examples of what you guys might want?
So one of the things that we've gotten a lot of is photos, family photos of Lincoln School or sports. Anything that is kind of centered around Black history in Joplin, and also artifacts. So it would be wonderful for people to reach out to us at Black History of the Ozarks. Our email is blackhistoryoftheozarks@gmail.com, and they can share with us pictures or anything that they think that might contribute to what we're doing with the exhibit.
Right. So they can also let us know at joplinmuseum@gmail.com if they have something, so that we can then determine if it's something we already have or if it's something that we would really like to have in the exhibit. And they're not giving it to us; they're letting us borrow it
lending it,
yeah,
right?
just lending it to us, so that they would retain ownership. And then on Saturday, we are going to have a reception to open it. Just the opening, of, like she said, is the beginning, and it's going to be at 1 o'clock at the museum on Saturday, and we welcome everyone to come and see, and then they might go, oh, I have something.
Right?
So-
That's perfect. And why is this so important that you have this exhibit?
Well, we haven't had anything like it ever before in the museum, so we're super excited to be partnering and get something new into the museum on a topic we've never done.
Yeah. There's a rich history in the Black community of Joplin, and so to be able to share that, even just a small bit of it is worth it. It's really important for representation. It's important for our children to go to the museum and to see people that look like me, people that look like them.
Absolutely.
So that's why we think it's so very important to tell this story and to share this history. And we're so very, very, very thankful to be able to work with the museum to do it.
Well, thank you, ladies. It sounds wonderful, and thank you for being here and telling us all about this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, stick around. We got more news coming up right after this.
The world is a great big place. It should be traveled and explored.
KOAMnewsnow.com/Hero Fund for the application and guidelines.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Now 7:41 on this Thursday morning here in the 4 states. And again, here at home because the youngest, he's not feeling so well, so he's going to spend some time with Dad today. And I'm going to spend some time telling you about this really nice but slightly cooler day we have for us. Let's take a quick look outside. It's our camera on top of the Cornell Complex in downtown Joplin. We've still got a bit of a breeze out there. Got a few clouds here and there, but otherwise not too bad so far to start. MoDOT camera 20th and range line also looking pretty good this morning as well. So we have those changes on the way. We've been talking about them. Let's go into detail about them. Now today we're going to be a little cooler than what we've been used to the last couple of days, but we're still above average with our temperatures going into the 50s out there, and we'll have those partly cloudy skies. And overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, as you can see, showers become more widespread across the area. And we're also going to have early highs on our Friday because eventually the temperatures are going to start to fall back for the day. Now, again, the good news is they won't plummet, but they will start to fall back a bit. And as you can see, we have an opportunity for the potential for a transition to maybe a wintry mix and perhaps some light snow. Now, the good news is at this point, the model data is suggesting that we're looking at a dusting, perhaps an inch of snow at best. And even then, not everybody would see some snow. And some of this may not even reach the ground as we head into the afternoon. But do be aware of that potential for some light snow and for some slick spots out there. Our camera 7th and range line showing we've got a few clouds out there. That's why we're going to be partly cloudy today. Excuse me, as clouds gradually increase through the day. 42 in Joplin right now. Feels like 34 with a north-northwest breeze at about 16 miles an hour. Temperatures around the region again. Out in southeastern Kansas, it's been a little colder. That northerly breeze has been holding on a little longer. So we're talking mid-30s, upper 30s out there. But as you can see, we're now seeing a lot more low 40s out there as well. All right, through the morning, gusty winds pushing 25 through mid-morning. They'll ease up. We're partly cloudy and about 44 by 11. Highs today, mid-50s. Some of us upper 50s, some of us low 50s. But either way, still above average. Clouds increasing tonight, and we'll go back into the low 40s for our overnight lows. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll have those early highs out there in the upper 40s. Temperatures gradually falling through the day. And then we'll make it down. It's going to be cold, but back down to 24 degrees. But that's average for us. And then, hey, don't worry. This little cold spell doesn't last long. We go back to spring-like weather next week. Mid-upper 50s Sunday and Monday, and mid to upper 60s Tuesday and Wednesday. So not bad out there with those partly cloudy skies. Just a couple of days here of some relatively cold weather. But believe it or not, seasonable weather. We're just not used to it. That is a check of your forecast. We're going to send it back over to Caitlin with a check of Consumer Watch.
Cybersecurity experts are sounding the alarm of a potential rise in data breaches at hospitals. Cybersecurity advisors say hospitals are becoming more popular targets for hackers because most have transitioned to using online technology for devices and medical records. They say hackers are holding systems hostage for high ransoms, and the government is not providing the hospitals with any support. Cybersecurity analysis says schools, hospitals, and local governments should be exempt from paying ransoms on cyber attacks. Cybersecurity firm Emisoft reports 46 cyber attacks targeted hospitals last year, up from 25 in 2022. The report also says the average payout to the hackers was $1.5 million last year. As federal student aid continues to experience delays, some colleges are reportedly taking action. A report says some schools across the country are providing students with their own financial aid forms. The forms do not replace the free application for federal student aid or FAFSA, but they may provide an estimate of aid services offered for the 2024 to 2025 school year. The report says the colleges and universities handing out their own forms say that they are similar to FAFSA. The Department of Education had a rough rollout of its simplified version of the FAFSA forms, meaning students will have to wait longer for their financial aid offers. The Department of Education says it will not be sending students FAFSA information to schools until March. And Americans struggling to pay off debt may be more likely to try paying it off later. A report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York says Americans with a credit score of 620 or lower are more likely to opt into buy now, pay later plans. The report shows, quote, financially fragile consumers are 3 times more likely to use the buy now, pay later option multiple times a year than those with greater credit scores. Researchers say 60% of financially fragile users on the plan use it at least 5 times a year. Economists and consumer experts say the programs are not necessarily the safest option for consumers because there is a lack of data and transparency on how much debt consumers rack up. And drivers for Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash went on strike across the country yesterday. It comes as the 3 companies take steps to improve the driver experience. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has more.
What you want? Justice! Drivers are turning off their apps and denying rides this Valentine's Day. It's all part of a nationwide strike involving thousands of Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash workers. They're focused on airports in at least a dozen major cities protesting unsafe working conditions and unfair wages. Some drivers say they're at their breaking point.
I got my taxes from Uber. They almost made as much as me, maybe 12, 13,000 less than what I made. That means they're taking too much of the money.
All three companies say they do not expect any significant impacts to customers. Uber telling Fox News the majority of its drivers are satisfied, writing, quote, as of last quarter, drivers in the U.S. were making about $33 per utilized hour. We also continue to act on driver feedback, adding new safety features to the app and improving our account deactivation processes. Earlier this month, Lyft also took steps to improve the driver experience, guaranteeing drivers earn at least 70% of riders' payments each week.
We also give them a weekly summary that shows here's exactly how much riders paid you, and here's exactly how much you took home, and here's what Lyft took as well.
But strike organizers say as vehicle and fuel costs rise, rideshare and app-based delivery companies are taking more out of drivers' pockets.
As we enjoy the comfort of modern convenience, let's not forget the human beings behind them who deserve to be treated fairly.
Wednesday's strike marked the first for Uber and Lyft since the companies went public in 2019. Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
And those are our top stories for Consumer Watch this morning. Now let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
This is Scott with Windows for Less.
Pittsburgh, where we're doing the most good.
Barbie fever is taking over the Phoenix Art Museum with their latest exhibit showcasing the iconic doll and its fashion through the years. Fox's Delaray Fluellen checks it out.
The #1 Barbie doll in her original bathing suit.
1959, the year Barbie was born and debuted at the New York Toy Fair. The patent for the doll's construction is dated November 21st, 1961.
Each of the dolls are matched with their original ensembles with all of the accessories so that they are the complement of the time period for the doll and the correct objects.
And this part of the exhibit is where you can see how Mattel pieces together the Barbie right down to the paint.
She's been right in step with fashion with shoulder pads in the 80s, and now Barbie is inspiring fashion.
She's also inspired girls and women to follow their dreams. You'll see that on display with Career Barbie.
Barbie has over 200 careers and counting.
She even started the Barbie Dream Gap Project because statistics show by the age of 5, girls stop believing they can become anything.
Barbie has been a teacher, a teaching assistant, an astronaut, an air hostess, and many, many other exciting things. This is one of our few touch pieces in the exhibition.
Look at this, you guys. Barbie is able to hit the road here in Arizona. So if you loved that Ultra Vet from 1985, well, you can come take a picture in it here at the Phoenix Art Museum. You have until July 7th to visit Barbie, a cultural icon. To learn more fun facts about Barbie, visit fox10phoenix.com. Desiree Fluellen, Fox 10 News.
Barbie continues to take over the world. Well, now let's head over to Chris for a quick look at our Thursday forecast.
Yeah, one last look outside. Our camera on top of the Grinnell Complex, downtown Joplin, still breezy. Wind shifting out of the north, though, out there, and they'll eventually shift out of the east later today. And you can see a few more clouds, and they'll be gradually increasing throughout the day. MoDOT camera 20th and range line also looking pretty good as folks get their day underway. All right, so again, today, we're a little cooler today than where we have been, but we're still above average. Clouds increasing, and we'll see those rain showers early tomorrow morning. And as temperatures fall gradually through the day, we'll see that transition to a wintry mix and some light snow out there. So no major accumulations expected at this time, but do watch out for some slick spots for the afternoon and evening commutes on our Friday, and temperatures fall, so a lot colder. We'll have one more look at your forecast, plus the news you need to know right after this.
Welcome to Miss Daisy's, where style meets comfort.